kami ialah merdeka atau mati.
Nikmati keseruan masa lalu dengan subscribe channel YouTube Majalah Historia, serta aktifkan notifikasinya. Channel Majalah Historia adalah salah satu produk dari Historia.id, berupa video ilustrasi sejarah berbasis artikel yang pernah tayang di laman Historia.id. Channel ini tidak hanya berisi tema sejarah yang bikin kening berkerut, macam politik dan militer, namun juga tema ringan seperti kuliner, gaya hidup, hingga hiburan. Pantengin masa lalu dengan share, like, komen channel YouTube Majalah Historia.
Untuk mempertajam sebuah pemikiran, meluruskan yang bengkok, menyindir yang jumawa, mempertanyakan sebuah kenyataan, membuka yang tabu, membentuk yang tak terarah, mengangkat yang direndahkan, dan memanusiakan yang ditinggikan. Itu kenapa opini ada.
Awali hari dengan informasi terkini, menjadi sumber referensi dan inspirasi di setiap aktivitas. Melalui news video portal, segala informasi dapat disajikan cepat, akurat, dan lengkap. Dengan kekuatan teknologi digital, Medcom.id hadir dengan berita pilihan yang dikemas secara menarik. Medcom.id, digitally inspire people.
Stop sebar berita hoax. Dapatkan kabar terpercaya dan benar melalui e-paper media Indonesia dengan berlangganan senilai. Unduh aplikasi Media Indonesia di Android, registrasi dan pilih paket berlangganan. Lakukan pembayaran dan nikmati layanan e-paper Anda. Informasi lebih lanjut. Unduh aplikasi Media Indonesia sekarang juga.
Welcome to Road to Jakarta International Literary Festival 2021. Heroes Remaking History. Please notice our guidelines for Jakarta International Literary Festival YouTube channel viewers. Viewers are welcome to subscribe to the Jakarta International Literary Festival YouTube channel to get notifications about the panel discussion schedule. Panel discussions will be held at Zoom meeting and linked live to the Jakarta International Literary Festival YouTube channel. Discussions will be held in English. Indonesian translation will be available on Jakarta International Literary Festival YouTube live screen. Questions and comments can be submitted via the live comment column or live chat on the Jakarta International Literary Festival YouTube channel while the discussion is in progress. Questions will be forwarded to the moderator to be mentioned to the speakers. Discussions will also be translated by a sign language translator. Thank you and enjoy the festival. Selamat datang di Road to Jakarta International Literary Festival 2021, Heroes Remaking History. Berikut adalah panduan untuk mengikuti panel diskusi melalui kanal YouTube Jakarta International Literary Festival. Pemirsa dipersilakan untuk subscribe kanal YouTube Jakarta International Literary Festival untuk mendapatkan pemberitahuan mengenai jadwal panel diskusi. Panel diskusi dilaksanakan di Zoom meeting dan ditautkan live ke kanal YouTube Jakarta International Literary Festival. Panel diskusi akan disajikan dalam bahasa Inggris. Terjemahan bahasa Indonesia tersedia langsung di layar YouTube Jakarta International Literary Festival. Pertanyaan dan komentar dapat Anda sampaikan melalui kolom live comment atau live chat di YouTube Jakarta International Literary Festival saat panel sedang berlangsung. Tim kami akan meneruskan daftar pertanyaan Anda kepada moderator untuk disampaikan kepada pembicara. Penerjemah bahasa isyarat juga akan ditampilkan dalam panel diskusi ini. Terima kasih dan selamat menikmati festival ini.
Hello everybody. Good afternoon. How are you all? Hopefully, in this pandemic, you guys are all still well, healthy. Since in these hard times, health is our biggest currency right now. Welcome to Jakarta International Literary Festival 2021, and this year's theme is Heroes Remaking History. And since it's Saturday, we're just gonna chill, relax, and have some talks. And today we will talk about the fantastics. And of course, we will be talking about heroes. When I was a little, heroes, of course, are limited to superheroes from the West, all stand tall with their muscular, perfectly sculpted body and their extra powers. So special, not like us, merry mortal. And then when I was in my teenage years, I remember my parents introduced me to different kind of heroes, the wayang characters. Not only have perfectly chiseled muscles, but also they have their own super weapon. And not only that, they are also they've got to be in the noble position, kings, princes, or priests. I remember one day coming home after reading the Mahabharata, I told my mom how much I hate Krishna. I mean, he's a protagonist and portrayed as a hero, but somehow cheating, lying, and manipulating. Those aren't hero's qualities. But my mom insists, and she told me that he did that because he needs to fulfill the prophecy that the good needs to win. Nah, heroes, anti-heroes, who knows? And this is what we will be talking about today. And right now, I have four brilliant ladies with me that will be talking a lot about heroes and being heroes. And they are very fit to do so. Not only because their friends will agree all these ladies are heroes for them and for me, but also because these ladies are very powerful and had been doing so many great things with their own superpowers, whether it's writing, storytelling, speaking, performing, even doing things with puppets. And all of our brilliant panelists are, of course, wonderfully curated, thanks to Jill's curator, Ishana Atarini and Oni Agustinus. And we also have our sign language interpreter. We have Davi, Siti, Rosa, and Anika joining us today, helping us to interpret things. And of course, I need to remind you that you can always join the JILF social media account. And before further ado, I would like to invite our first speakers. And since I I've told you we got four brilliant speakers. I will introduce you the first one, who is our first speaker. This speaker says she's a writer for children and adults and also cats. She is a cat lover, living blissfully with four cats, and one of them is a black cat. That's important, black cat. Cats appears everywhere in her children's storybooks. An example, Angin dari Tebing and Du dan Kisah Lima Kerajaan. Her books are published in many mediums, traditional and digital, nationally and internationally, and interpreted in various ways in movies, theaters, and poems. She spends her time at home and other places in the world where she feels at home. And of course, that home should be with cats. Okay, I invite you, Mbak Clara, to present your presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Inaya, for the introduction. Never forget to say that I'm a cat lover. Hello, all the mortals here, and hello, all the cats lover here, and the cats too, because I read the Twitter said that this panel is open for cats too. Okay, so we have audience like cats. Okay, I'm going to read my essay as part of my theme that I want to talk about for the topic of hero. Okay, the title is Cool by Being Uncool. Since my childhood, I encounter heroes and villains that clearly refer to good guy versus bad guy, or good heroes versus bad villain. I have known them through the Bible and childhood books, my children's book. Good and evil are heroic fellow that human created since the dawn of the civilization. Good heroes serve to thicken the heroics qualities, and also they relate to our social and power structure. One of their agenda, of course, is to maintain public morale in a non-close-knit community. This popular heroic archetype across genre, for example, is like extreme selflessness, honor, confidence, bravery, cleverness, are institutionalized feature that guide us our moral perfectionism. You can feel their magnetic pull in romance novel. I give you example. For example, the concept of heroes and villain bring conventional moral ideas about, of course, heterosexual, our good old heterosexual relationship romance. We are all exposed to them. On the other hand, I come across many heroes, like Inaya said, who wants to be free, who refuse to follow social norms, and who show some kind of madness. Yeah, Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Winds is one example of singular heroine who is selfish, self-serving anti-hero. She used her beauty and charm as tool to deliberately get what she wants. She breaks people's hearts, stab her friends, tell lies, and everything. But the readers love her so much because she did it all for one main purpose: to survive in the midst of civil war in America. That reminds me of what actor Kevin Spacey, we all know him, said during his very interesting interview about Frank Underwood, that Spacey fictional character, main character of the Netflix series House of Cards. He said, quote, "Antihero is here to stay." It's a very famous quote, it's everywhere. We might say that traditional of moral superlative and conventionalisms seems to be fading out in our contemporary twist trend. We like it for the twist ending, right? In the story, we love to catch heroic narrative that are contain guilt-free or shame-free hero. We are being culturally allowed to enjoy the different type of narrative, bad heroes versus good villains, or heroes who are angry without being a goody-goody, or heroes who are devil without being evil. Heroic characters are more than neither perfectly good nor perfectly evils. But is it the goods become heroes is being extremely popular during this age? Heroes of both Western mythologies and Indonesian folklore are largely amoral. They contain both the good and the evils, the heroic and the demonic. They tend toward to the Apollonian ideals, which is self-control, and Dionysian's ideal, which is euphorias. They have affection and jealousy, being hostile and sympathetic throughout the story. For instance, one of the we all know extremely popular Indonesian folklore is Malin Kundang. The heroes Malin Kundang and his mother have negative traits such as vanity and cruelty. They are both depicted as hostile, troublesome, has individualistic character, and eventually the story end up in a bitter and nasty closure. Nonetheless, this human weakness literally triggered Malin Kundang and his mother as a very popular culture heroes in here. We can find similar traits in Western mythologies that related to divinity, resulting in humankind's fear. The great god Zeus sent Pandora's box full of agony and despair on his battle with Prometheus, who had stolen fire from the god to help humankind. King David, we all know about him, saw a married woman named Bathsheba bathing, and he lusted for her, and he made her pregnant and sent her husband to the front lines of the battle that led to his death. Then the king married the woman. King David, he's the famous god. He is a god favorite. Actually, is a adulterer and a murderer. He's a sinner and at the same time also a faithful worshipper. The myth of hero and anti-hero presented in ancient time still have a tendency to stay present in contemporary archetype heroes, anti-heroes, postmodern heroes, anti-heroes. This tendency always challenges and disrupt the conventional plot. The villainous heroes, we can you can call it as a charming crook or a good bandit, are at times rendered as loving, sophisticated, and otherwise cool, undoubtedly appealing characters. The literature genre across little genre gets more impressive if the hero is given certain psychological tint to shade the color of his or her heroic persona. On the other hand, the good hero without the evil part could become gradually perceived as boring and unappealing, not messy enough, and of course plainly cliche. Likewise, there are too many good heroes who were too consumed by the obsession in confronting the evil in anything imaginable while pursuing to save others. Carl Jung applied the term of archetype to literature. This hero anti-hero dualism support the Jungian psychology based theory of the universal hero, where two opposing archetypes are just two antithetical aspects of the same universal archetype. As early as the ancient mythologies in many Western and Asian culture, the gods were presented as unifying the goods. For example, they are gentle, benevolent, kind, pleasant, soft, and also at the same time, the bad, disastrous, deadly, toxic, lethal, while display both of these moral spectrum at once. Likewise, conventional god heroes and bad villains has aspect of the same character, which encounter a crisis of some kind and prefer to respond it in a different way. They are placed at the opposite side of the same pole, and the only thing that settle a feelings against the hero is the reality that he or she has taken an alternate route. Heroic and villainous images can be bargained, discussed, and multiply interpreted, including in ways that defy the preferred reading. It is the case that the civic responsibility rests upon the mass culture whose fiction is whose function is to maintain public morale, a kind of our conscious obligation of the society to be good. Not only to understand the goodness versus the badness, but to understand the heroic beyond good and evil, which is the main force that maintain socially integrative attitudes in a system that comprehends struggle in a form of the commodity.
Well, thank you very much, Mbak Clara, for your presentation. And before I talk about your presentation, I just want you to know that how much surprised I am to hear, because this is the first time I've ever heard that Malin Kundang is being called heroes because like and this is for the first time ever I've ever heard someone put Malin Kundang and heroes in one sentence together. I mean, since I was a little, people will say that he is not only villain but evil. But from what Clara present, we can say that good, bad, cool, uncool, hero, villain are intertwined and goes hand in hand in the hero's characters for very long. And the important thing that we can do as a public is to understand the hero beyond those good and evil. And it turns out not only Mbak Clara and I, who's been reliving our childhood when we're talking about heroes, our second speakers also did that. And she even questioned, where does hero comes from, Mom? So I would like to introduce you our second speaker, Miss Tiffany Tsao. She works as a writer and literary translator. The Majesties is her most recent novel. She is also the author of the Outfits Fantasy Trilogy. Her translation from Indonesian to English include Norman Erickson Pasaribu's poetry collection, Sergius Six Bacchus, and D. Lestari's novel Paper Boats, and poetry by Tuti Herati and Dorothea Rosa Heliani, titled Axis Presses Translating Feminism Series. She has a PhD in English literature from UC Berkeley. Now she lives in Sydney, Australia. Tiffany, I invite you to talk.
Thank you, Inaya. I think I have some slides that may appear. Yeah, so I went full, because I used to lecture, in a past life, I used to be a lecturer at a university. So I went full lecturer mode and then created slides. Sorry, I know it's Saturday and you probably all don't want to see this kind of presentation, but it's okay. I'm sure you have coffee or beer or wine or tea or something else to make it better. Okay, I'll stop lathering on. Yeah, so As Inaya pointed out, and this is the title of my essay for, I think, the collection that is coming out of this particular iteration of Jill's Mommy, Where Do Heroes Come From? Because I want to address a very pervasive now and a romanticized notion of heroism as, heroes, especially, in movies now, sort of spontaneously occurring. They just happen. They defy the odds, and all of a sudden, this underdog will rise up and all of a sudden find out they're really good at this and very talented, and then they take off their glasses and they're very beautiful. And that's where heroes come from, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to start off by thinking about the unspontaneity of heroism. So both of these pictures, they may be familiar to you. So the first one on the left is of Rosa Parks, and she was a very prominent figure in the African-American civil rights movement in America. And she was, very famous for starting, I guess, the Black boycott of buses, and that turned into a sort of more nationwide boycott of the bus system, which was segregated at the time. And she's very famous for, this is the story as I heard it at first when I was schooling in my American curriculum international school, where we learned about this. There's this woman, Rosa Parks. She was very tired one day, and she was asked to give up her seat near the front of the bus for a white passenger, and she said, "No, my feet are tired," or something to that effect. So the interesting thing is, right, actually, is that this kind of narrative, right, this story, it's a nice little thing to tell, and it's like, oh, anyone can be a hero, right? But actually, Rosa Parks herself had a very long history of being politically active. She was, held a leadership position, I think, since her either high school or college years in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which was, one of the primary civil rights organizations in the US at the time. So she wasn't just anyone, right? Actually, there were factors within her, I guess you might call it her microenvironment, right? That were, in a way, right, had prepared her for this moment to say no, right? And in interviews afterwards, subsequent to this particular moment, she was, on record saying, "I actually wasn't tired. I was just tired of all of, this injustice that has been happening, for so long." So, right, that's one example of heroism that looks spontaneous on the surface, but below the surface, right, is actually not spontaneous because, in a way, right, all of the conditions in her life, her being able to be politically active, had groomed her for that moment. And the same, I guess, with Kartini. When I was growing up in Indonesia, we celebrated, and I'm sure everyone here has, celebrated Kartini Day, and we would sing the song, and we would say like, oh, she was amazing. Here is an example of exceptional womanhood who believed in and espoused egalitarian values and feminist values way before her time, and I wonder, right? I don't recall when I was taught this in school, people emphasizing that much. My teachers emphasizing that much the the enormous amount of books she read. Right. She had very, quite extensive education for her time. She was given access to lots of books, lots of magazines. She was corresponding, I think, with a Dutch woman, about these ideas, and corresponded a lot through letters before her, early tragic death. But right, no one says, oh, to create another Kartini, why don't we give more young girls access to lots of books, turn them into voracious readers, give them lots of time and lots of resources and lots of education in order to make them heroes. We kind of think like this, so these are two examples of women, right, who we hold up as heroes and say, that was exceptional, that was amazing, they really, defied the odds and defied the environment of their time. But we're not actually looking at the microenvironments and the conditions around them that enabled them to do this. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an issue that I've been addressing a little bit in my fiction. So these are the first two books of the Odd Fits trilogy. It's the fantasy trilogy I write. The third one I am currently writing now. These books are about, they're titled The Odd Fits, and they're about this type of being called an odd fit, right? They don't fit in the known world, which is the world that we see and experience every day. And they actually don't fit in because the known world is allergic to them. Their immune system actively rejects them. So the protagonist of the first book, Murgatroyd, who lives in Singapore, finds out one day that he is actually the special type of being, and that he belongs in a different world, a world that we can't see. It's in the nooks and the crannies of the seen world, and it's called the more known world. And so, we learn about sort of how the steps he has to take in order to leave to be able to achieve his full heroic capability in that other world, the more known world. And this was sort of continued as well in the second book, The More Known World, which takes place primarily in Surprise, the more known world, and goes more into another character. Her name is Anne. Her backstory and the steps that she had to take also to achieve her full potential. So, right, that's one avenue of treating it. This situation in fiction, right? How do you become a hero in an environment hostile to you, under circumstances hostile to you? You leave, right? Next slide. Okay, so what happens when you can't leave? And in a sense, this is what my third novel is about, which isn't a fantasy novel, but it has a speculative element, fantastic elements. Long story, but it involves genetically engineered fungus that inhabit insects that are used to create designer fashion accessories. Anyway, so that's the speculative aspect of that. But The Majesties is about two sisters who belong to a wealthy Chinese Indonesian family and are trapped. They find themselves trapped in this world of vacuous luxury, right? Insipid luxury. They're not, learning education is sort of not emphasized that much, right? Because their family thinks, well, we can just, why do you need that? You can just work for the family company or get married to someone rich in one of our circles, right? So, and in general, the novel is about characters who find themselves trapped, actually, in this particular world. And in the larger context, sociocultural context of the novel, the characters also find themselves trapped in stereotypes. They and their families are walking stereotypes of ethnic Chinese villainy, right? So all of the worst stereotypes about the Chinese in Indonesia: rich, selfish, unpatriotic, racist, clannish, money-minded. All of those things they apply to their family and themselves, and they're very troubled by it, right? And as the novel progresses, though, we as readers realize that these behaviors are also self-protective mechanisms against discrimination against the ethnic Chinese as a whole, right? In a system which is also, I guess, discriminatory and has a history of violence and extremely violent outbursts towards the Chinese. Right, wealth is one protective layer, right? It buys you immunity from having to be at the mercy of these elements. So that's another factor I wanted to explore in this novel. So it's actually quite layered. It's not clear cut, right? But basically, right, the characters as the protagonists are definitely anti-heroes, right? And the question is, how do they escape? And this is actually quite a dilemma for them. This quote here is actually from a working draft of The Majesties. It was actually cut by my editor. And then sometimes I actually think about it. It's really weird. I feel like, oh, I think about this sentence enough. Maybe I should have argued to keep it. But anyway, it's been cut. So here it is in this presentation. She could no more escape her life than a mouse could escape the galaxy, or so it must have seemed, how embedded she was in it. Right? And it takes place in a scene in the novel where, one of the sisters and the sister, go away. They escape. They run away for a little while, and they come back. And the sister who's married to an abusive husband says, yeah, I'm just going to leave. It's going to be great. We're going to start a business together, you and me, and we'll just break away from the family. We'll break away from all this. But then the sister comes back, and she finds that once she's back in this life of hers, that it's very hard to even conceive of the possibility of escape, right? So that's what's interesting, right? Like that. How can you expect people to escape? How can you expect people to become heroic and to have heroic qualities if you don't provide the conditions, if you don't provide the environment, if you don't provide the resources for them to do that? Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is a quote also from another scene later in the novel. And this is actually from one of the characters who does escape. And I'm trying to not give away any spoilers, so excuse the vagueness here. But they leave, and they leave Indonesia actually, and they take rather extreme measures to do so. And when they're asked if they'll go back, they say, I won't go back. I won't go back, she said, as if we'd asked her to. Over there, you have no choice about what you become. It's all laid out for you by family, by race, by money and status. There's a set role you have to play, and if you go off script, it all comes falling down. I don't have to be a monster here, right? So this is, just I guess, an example of me exploring that a little bit in my novel as well, right? That this character, she feels that she has to leave in order to be something, in order to be free to be something else. We also find out though that she's not actually free in this new place she's been to, she's gone to, but that's another story and completely irrelevant to the matter at hand. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is actually a quote from just surrounding the novel. I was doing a lot of reading and a lot of research into the ethnic Chinese in Indonesia, and this is also my family background. So in a way, this is something that I'd been sort of exploring and unearthing years before as well, before I wrote the novel, which is kind of why, when I was writing the novel, I can't write about a family with this kind of background and not include the things I've learned along the way. And this is just an example of something that I read, like afterwards, because it's been sort of an ongoing process. And I'll just, I guess, translate a bit. So this is from a historian, a Chinese Indonesian historian named Ong Hok Ham, and it's from his essay, "The Rise of Chinese Capital, Rise of Capitalism Among Overseas Chinese in Indonesia." And he talks basically about how there were a variety of factors, especially during the colonial era, but especially during the Suharto era, that led to the creation of the Chinese Indonesians as what he calls the economic animals, right? And I find that term like a really good term and a very chilling one, right? Because when we think of animals, sadly in this society as something we breed, something that we can sort of naturally, select and manipulate for, right? We have cows that have, larger udders and produce more milk. We have, chickens which are, sort of have more, whatever, I don't know, paha meat, more like breast meat, more, so, and this whole idea, right, of this, all of these factors and policies during the Suharto era to create Chinese Indonesians and push them towards, sort of moving towards, I guess, prowess in the economy, right? So cutting them off from political, political involvement, right? Limiting also, sort of the areas and scope they have in the cultural arts, right? I think, as we all know, right, the Chinese language schools and the presses were closed down, right? So all of these factors leading to, I guess, the encouragement of the Chinese as, a sort of a purely economic animal, right? Economic, not machine, creature, I guess. That's another way to put it. And so that was interesting for me to read about. But so just in the context of talking about my novel, The Majesties, which is set in this context, right? So that's also why the theme of genetic engineering also comes up a lot in the novel, as well as the theme of insects and sort of breeding. One of the family runs a silk factory, right? And so they one of the sisters starts sort of experimenting a little bit with silk moths, and so you can kind of see, right, all of these themes of selecting and controlling individuals, right? So the individuals themselves, whether they're organisms, and insects, or whether they're people, don't have a choice about what they become, because if they are in that environment, they become what they're told to become, right? And this is also, behind going back to the human world, right? This is behind, I guess, the Jews in Europe as well, right? There are reasons why there are certain stereotypes about the Jews as itinerant, because they were not allowed to own land, right? At a certain time in medieval Europe, and were often, sort of shooed out, right? So they're consistently wandering. So you have the stereotype of the wandering Jew or the Jewish moneylender, right? Because there was a time also in medieval Europe where it was not considered Christian to have, be in that service of money lending. So actually a lot of rulers would encourage the Jewish population to fulfill that service of money lending in order to, so because Christians shouldn't do it. So, all of these harmful stereotypes, right, they're actually outgrowths of actual situations. Next slide, please. This is the last slide, so don't worry. Not so heavy for Saturday night. Drink some more wine or coffee. Making heroism possible. Some thoughts. So, in terms of, I think this is being done already, which is really wonderful. But I think changing the narrative is so important, right? Unearthing the heroes that can serve as heroes for people, for people who haven't historically been thought of as heroes or see heroes as inaccessible. So unearth those varied by history. And I've, really appreciated actually a lot of efforts recently to, talk more about the role of, Chinese Indonesians, for example, in the perjuangan, in like the fight, the struggle for independence. That's really cool, right? Like, oh, they were involved in, publishing a lot of things that other newspapers wouldn't. And they were, involved in, the creation and the airing of the national anthem. That's fantastic. The other thought I have is, removing the structures that make heroism nigh impossible, right? So, right, we don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in, environments, and enabling and providing those conditions for individuals to become heroic, and maybe even thinking about heroism not in terms of like the big and the grand, right? But just on a micro level, right? Being good, being kind, being principled, standing up for what you believe in, being just, right? These are things that maybe are also really, good for society as a whole, instead of thinking of that one big hero that will come along. The other last thing I'd like us to think about is, is heroism the burden of the individual, and what happens? Should the hero narrative involve defying the odds? Because when you think about it, that's actually not a very, what does that say when we say a hero has to defy the odds? You're like, well, shouldn't you just make it easier to be a hero? Would not that be nice? Yes, that's it. Thanks for listening.
Okay, Kak Tiffany, thank you very much for the presentation. That's very, very, very interesting. Even though I have to admit there's something baffled me about what you were saying. I mean, how could you were saying that what makes Kartini a hero was because she's reading and books and stuff? What? No! What made Kartini a hero was her kabaya, since that's what people copying every Kartini day. Reading, what is that? What could that do for women? but, but interesting. Thank you very much for showing us that just like villains, heroes don't appear from thin air. They are grown and they need conducive condition to grow, and therefore it is maybe our duty to cultivate those kind of condition and change the narrative. Thank you very much, Kak Tiffany. And maybe one of those conditions that creates the rising of the hero is I don't know, so hard social condition maybe. That beg the question to our third speakers who just came. Welcome, Kaoka. Uh, what do heroes do? That's what she was asking. And Kaoka, since you were just arrived, are you okay with go straight to presentation, or do you need to take a breath?
No, absolutely. I'm okay. Thank you. Sorry about the delay. I'm all right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay
Thank
then.
you. So nice to be here.
Then yeah, I will introduce you to Kaoka. Khairani Barokka is a writer and artist from Jakarta, currently based in London. Her work has been I'm sorry, you guys, for the clocks chiming. I'm so sorry. Uh, well, hopefully you guys can take it as a back sound. Okay, I will repeat myself. Khairani Barokka is a writer and artist from Jakarta, currently based in London. Her work has been presented extensively in 16 countries and centers form of disability justice as anti-colonial praxis. Oka was a UNFPA Indonesian Young Leader Driving Social Change and NYU Tisch Departmental Fellow and Modern Poetry in Translations Inaugural Poet in Residence. Her interdisciplinary artwork has been an art forum must-see. She is currently Associate Artist at the UK's National Centre for Writing and Researcher in Residence and Research Fellow at University of the Arts London Decolonizing Art Institute. Oka is co-editor of Stairs and Whispers, The Deaf and Disabled Poets Write Back, author illustrator of Indigenous Pieces, Tilted Axis, Vietnamese translation by Red, Ajar Press, and of debut poetry collection Robe by 9 artists. Please welcome Kak Oka.
Thank you all so much. So I'm just gonna, I don't have that many slides, but I will share my screen now. Here we go. Hero as a verb, pahlawan sebagai kata kerja. Hi everyone. So I'm mainly going to read from the essay that I contributed to JILF. So, siapakah yang dipahlawankan? The many virtues of Indonesian includes the way in which hero functions in the word dipahlawankan was made a hero. When reading the word hero, what kind of human does our imagination summon? A person of a certain gender, background, what certain set of achievements, coded abled, normative, cis hetero. Who are we teaching children today to look up to, and how are we helping them to recognize the heroism in themselves, no matter who they are, no matter who we are? Since I was very small, I called the Pemuda Membangun Monument in Jakarta patung kue, cake statue. In my toddler mind, this wasn't an ode to the supposedly masculine virility of petrocapitalism. This was, I firmly declared, a statue of a person holding up a cake. The fire on a platter is surely made of sugar. So the point of sharing this treacly anecdote is this: all images of heroes are refracted through infinite lenses of imagination. One person's hero is another person's villain or another's complicated creature, defying good-bad binaries. Mempahlawankan is an imagining, is a remembering, is so often a reckoning. As those of us born and raised in the New Order era know, too many heroes are not celebrated or remembered as widely as they deserve to be, and too many met and continue to meet violent ends with no just cause. So being born into these histories of suppression is also to recognize that we are born into histories of resistance. And this archipelago is nothing but layers upon layers of resistance histories. We must remember continuously that anti-imperialism runs deep in these islands as much as corruption, collusion, nepotism, land grabs that cause socio-environmental crises, media suppression, excuse me, and other forms of violence against the most endangered communities. Heroes include so many of those who did not make it out. Heroes are Marsinah as well as Chutnyadin. Heroes are survivors who choose to remain anonymous, who must for survival. Heroes are those who, despite what gender binaries, ableist constructs, rampant westernizing, Javanizing, and other forms of homogenizing may be present, remain true on the inside. Heroes are little kids on social media, taking the government to task with a fun song they wrote themselves. And heroes are the friends, family, and communities of those kids who share that song. Being able to share and feel joy and laughter within the hellscapes of our world is a form of heroism. The everyday small things add up to a heroic whole. So in telling our stories through writing and art, there's a responsibility. Languages are tools for many ends, multitudinous ends. So it's incumbent on us all to be attuned to the ways in which language degrades acts of heroism, diminishes heroes, erases or misrepresents innumerable stories of resistance across the archipelago, and how conversely language may come to the rescue. So apart from endangered language preservation and cultural revitalization, we must also follow the pull to never succumb to the ableist conceit that stories only exist about and for one kind of soul body. And by soul body, that's my translation of jiwaraga. Because as a disabled writer especially, let's never forget that stories have always been multisensorial, right? We have sign language interpretation here today. People make and absorb stories through all the different senses, and every stolen from community has the utmost right to tell our stories ourselves, to have our stories amplified respectfully. So for the past 9 or so years since I became physically disabled, I've been trying to change people's mindsets about heroes, right? And about people in general. So my field is visual cultures. That's what I got my PhD in. And my whole path, my whole research process over these 9 years through art and writing has been, usually when we see an image of a person, let's say me on Zoom, people think, oh, she's a normative body, right? She's able, she can't be disabled. You have to prove that you're disabled before people think of you as disabled. But actually, you can never tell what's going on in somebody's insides. I don't know who has a period right now. I don't know who has a headache. I don't know who has cancer. I don't know who has diabetes. I don't know, like we don't know so many things about each other's lives. And that's okay. That's private information, right? It's okay. But to just think of the assumption as being something very ableist and Western. So Slamet Amex Tohari, my colleague, who is a disabled researcher, he as well, he has a book called Disability in Java, right? So before Dutch colonialism, we have disabled gods. We know this, right? And disabled people were considered as closer to God and as holy, right? But because of Western colonial missionary medicine, all of that was wiped out, and there became this very ableist model of, if you are different, you have to be wiped out. Your illness, everything is an illness. Everything has to be wiped out. Not all disabilities are illnesses, right? If people are deaf or blind, that's just how people are. But then this very ableist Western story of heroes being only abled people and not disabled people came into being, right? So everything I do in my art, all my performances, all my paintings and my writing is to be from a perspective that centers disability justice as anti-colonial praxis, and to say, if we assume that everybody could potentially possibly be disabled, even people who are speaking to you right now, and to consider that everybody might possibly be in pain or have a, you know, have something going on in their lives that you don't know about, then that will make us all better people, you know. So I'm just going to show a teeny bit. I don't have that many slides, as I said, but a teeny bit of my slides. So um, a couple of years ago, I became a contributor to this issue of Uncanny magazine. Uncanny is a big science fiction magazine, and it's called Disabled People Destroy Science Fiction. Every single contributor to this was disabled. And all our I wrote a science fiction poem. So all of our poems and stories in this, right, are of heroes who are disabled in worlds fighting for our lives, right? And or fighting for equality or being complicated heroes, you know. Disabled people can be good or bad just like other people. And this issue actually won the Hugo Award, which is a huge award for science fiction, because I don't think people had seen anything like this before. I think that people were quite taken aback by everybody else in the issue was so of such incredible quality. And the essays in it were wonderful as well. So I highly suggest you check that out. That's online if you want to read that. So a little bit about my own work. I'm just going to talk about one project of mine. This project was part of my PhD by practice in visual cultures at Goldsmiths. So for the past 9 years, I've been working on a series called Ana Infinite, Ana Selamanya. So 9 years ago, I saw this painting that you see before you on the screen, and that is Ana la Javanaise by Paul Gauguin. And I thought, oh my God, you know, this child is being abused by Gauguin. Was a known abuser of women and children, right? He was violent. His son wrote about him being a violent man, all of this stuff. She's so alone in Paris, and she was taken from Java, right? She was basically ordered as a slave by a white opera singer. And nobody knows where she came from. And by the way, all the quote unquote art history books, they say she's from different places. She's Sinhalese, she's half Malay, half Dutch, she's Javanese, she's from Polynesia. You know, white people don't care where we're from as long as we're brown, right? So all the history books say something different. So I wanted to point that out too, that you think West European art history is so sophisticated, but they don't even get where Java is or, you know, how to describe us anyway. So I wanted to create art and writing that showed that she was very possibly disabled. That's all my point was. She could have been disabled because she was living with a violent man, right? And she was a child. She was a child, right? So this is a photo of me doing a performance installation, one of 2 that I've done so far. It's called Ana Nomenclature, and it's at the ICA. So what you're seeing me doing down there is I have made so many different Ana paintings, and I'm etching an outline of her body onto the gallery floor, sort of to show Western art's complicity in maintaining these abuses, right? By, you know, Gauguin is, I think, the highest priced painter in the West today. And he is such an abusive man, especially towards Asian and Polynesian women and girls and children. And I perform in this as Oka, and I'm talking to Anas, to all the different spirits of Anas as kind of an ancestor. So what you see before you on the screen, I'm just going to describe it for those of you who may be hard of seeing or blind. There's 2 projections. So one is on the ICA that's the Institute for Contemporary Arts in London. That's the projection. On the wall is of another Ana painting I made, and it's a black and white abstract painting, and she has a word in Javanese on her eyes. And then there's a science fiction Ana that is trying to erase that painting. So I'm making up stories about these, and I'm making paintings for them. And then the projection on the floor is another Ana painting I made, sort of an abstraction of the original with the white outline. that I also draw in white chalk. So I made a film actually. What you're seeing projected on the screen is not just a series of paintings, but it's a series of film. It's a short film, sorry, with a series of illustrations of mine, because all of the writing about her, especially from 1893 to 1894, says that she was around the age of 13, and that was the age of consent in France. And I also connect Anna, who people say she worked as quote unquote worked as a domestic worker, even though she was not paid, right? So I connect what was going on with Anna to what is going on right now, still goes on for Indonesian women and girls, right? Justice for domestic workers, etc. And I want people to see her as a hero. I want people to see all the people that we did not think of as heroes, as potentially heroes, and that perhaps those heroes might be disabled. So I'm gonna stop sharing for now, and sort of end on that note for now to give time to the other speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaoka. There was very powerful presentation, and what Kauka saying was everybody can be heroes in whatever shapes, sizes, colors, genders, abilities. No longer we need to surrender into homogeneous standard, and how act of heroism can be seen from different and various kinds of deeds and good things, even you know, to something that we consider a small gesture, and reminded us that heroism is something that we all can do. And this gives me, the mediocre, mere mortal self, so much hope. Thank you so much, Kaoka. And of course, when we're talking about heroes, we tend to think that they are the powerful one. They are in the front, but sometimes those heroes are not working alone. So many people realize that heroes don't work alone. There are people who create heroes who works in the back. And those people are puppet master. So I would introduce you to our fourth speakers for today, the puppet masters. I know she don't want me to call her puppet master, but for me, she is the puppet master.
Aduh, Inaya.
It is Maria Trisulustiani, or we are, usually known as Ria Papermoon, founded Papermoon Puppet Theater in Yogyakarta in 2006 with no educational background of puppetry. Puppetry becomes a never-ending experimental journey for Ria. Ria graduated with a social and political science degree and became co-directors for the theater with her husband. Papermoon makes performances and visual art projects, facilitates workshops with a wide range of audiences, and they initiated an independent international biennial puppet festival called Pesta Boneka that had been running since 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you, Ria Papermoon.
Thank you, Mainaya. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jill, for having me. Oh my goodness, it's been amazing chat with all of the presenters. Really lovely and really strong kind of like key points of that, ideas of about heroes. And then when I got this invitation, I was thinking like, what should I say about heroes in the perspective of a puppetry artist? Then I found it's very interesting because I found that I know the words heroes when I was, everyone always relate with the childhood time, right? Like you're thinking about it, Inaya just said about those Western kind of superheroes, all of us saying the same thing. So I got stuck there. And also after that, we went to school and then we found that, oh yeah, then it's a national hero. So hero always goes to that kind of path in the childhood memories. So when I was like sitting in my desk, like right now, and I was thinking about what should I write, what should I do, what should I present, my 5 years old son came to me and asked me why am I sitting in the desk for such a long time, and I was saying that I need to tell something about hero, and he said, I know many things about heroes. It's just like, okay, tell me about it. So that from that kind of conversation, we play around. We kind of like he dragged me to his Lego station, and then he started to bring out this stuff, lots of things, and then from there I decided to make a performance for you guys to tell about what is heroes and the conversation between me and him. Anyway, so my articles that I sent to Jill, it's the conversation in between raccoon, which is this is a little boy. I just posted a little bit over here, like that. The raccoon and a ghost, which is me. I'm become the ghost. Why? It's because that's the character that he has in his Lego station. So let's move to our little stage. La la. Welcome to the performance space. So I will tell you a little bit a story about a ghost that lives in a very interesting building. So that is the ghost, or you have to see it from close. So this is the ghost. And then he's living in this station, he's building a very tall building with just only four poles. And then he always can answer questions of a character that always be curious of many things. And it is the raccoon. So one day, raccoon came to ghost house. Da-da-da-da. Hi, ghost. Oh, hi, raccoon. Can I help you? Yes, I have a very important question for you right now. Okay, let me get myself settled. So, what is a hero for you? Hey, a hero. Well, it is someone strong, someone who's fighting to make life better. Someone strong and make others' life better. Yes, that's right. Oh, better? Better for who? For many people, of course. It is someone that makes people get their freedom. Oh, freedom? Freedom to do what? Oh, is it a freedom to think? Or to speak? Or to eat? Or to drink? Oopsie. Yeah. That could be those. But also, not only that. Oh, what else? Well, also to stand proudly on their own land. To live properly. Properly? What is proper? Proper for whom? Ghost couldn't answer that question. Proper. Proper for whom? What kind of proper? Okay, now, what differ a hero with common people? Oh, well, a special power. Okay. Well, they're not always wearing nice clothes. Sometimes just usual clothes, like that. Only pants? Well, yeah, only pants sometimes. Okay. But all heroes have special power. Oh, really? Could they be invisible? Hmm. Do they have wings? Cape? Could they fly with their cape? Not that kind of power, actually. Well, I know some heroes have more special powers. Oh, really? Yes. What is that? Oh, they teach people to read, so those people won't sign wrong papers. They teach people to count, so those people will get their rights. They listen to others. They have big hearts. They live for others. They inspire people. So, does a hero mean someone who has a special power to empower other people? That's right. And you know what? I could see that there must be a hero inside you. The end. That's it. That's my messy performance.
Yay! Wow, wow. That's very, very, very great performance. Thank you very much, Karia. Karia, we still have sometimes. Probably you could,
Sure.
um, explain us where you got the inspiration and the stories behind your performances.
My crazy toy theater piece. Anyway, this is based on this kind of toys that my son, my 5 years old son, Lunang has, which is all this, I forgot to pull out the Santa Claus as well. When I say, people get better. I'm supposed to just drag this just because this is very interesting that since we are very young, all what we know about, being good or being bad, it's always from stories, right? And then the most accessible one is toys and also films. And we know that as an Indonesian citizen, as Indonesian parents, I got that we are really got injected by this kind of toys. So for us, it's we kind of like we make our own puppets. We kind of they can explore experiments, but still this is the thing that easily to get. So it is very interesting when I discuss this with my son about hero, and he suddenly just pull out Wolverine, and today he just dress up as a Wolverine today, and I was like, well, this is very interesting that the conversation they're always coming from a character without their learn, and he's 5 years old, like it's all about the fighting and he wins, those kind of situation. But then when we talk further and I recite this piece actually in front of him, and he was really nodding his head like, yes, that's true, that's a hero, I want to be a hero. And it's because we are talking about you empower other people. So it's not about you're the strongest because of that muscle. It's not because you have that special power of being invisible, for example, but you empower other people so they can have their own, they can stand in their own feet. And for me as a mother, when we are talking about what is a hero for a young child, which is also it's a big question for me right now, who is my hero right now, and I see some friends that are there staying in small islands in East Indonesia, for example, and they throw away all of their attribute as teacher, professor, whatever, and just stay in the middle of forest. They are heroes. So yeah, so that's how the a little toy theater piece come from.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Those are very powerful. Some of the words that I took from you that I think very powerful is beyond all those bravery and muscles and everything, a hero should listen to others, inspire and empower. Those are more important than just like being very strong yourself. That's very very interesting. And I would like to thank you very much, Kak Ria. Please give
Thank
a round of
you,
applause.
Inaya.
And of course, I would like to invite you guys, all viewers, that have questions for our panelists, whatever comes to your mind, or you already itch, you want to ask a lot, because I do. We have four brilliant panelists, and there are so many things I want to ask to all of the panelists. But meanwhile, we're waiting for the questions from the viewers. I would like to start with my own questions to the panelists. We will be talking to the four panelists. At first, I would like to ask to Mbak Clara. Mbak Clara, you were talking about heroic characters. That are more, neither perfectly good nor perfectly evil, or in your words, heroes who are devil without being evil. And even though you said that this been done since a long, long time ago, but I can't help to realize that these days, this kind of types of heroes are trending. Yeah, well, pushed specifically by the Hollywood with their superheroes movie or the anti-hero movies. And one of the things that comes to my mind the most when I listen to you is Joker, of course, the biggest anti-hero of last year. Uh, what I want to ask is, how do you draw the line on heroes? By being devil without being evil. How do you draw that line? How do you still good but not that bad? And how to make people can see those lines too? Aren't you afraid that people might get it? Oh, they will think that evil is okay or things like that. Probably that's gonna be my first question. Please, Mbak Clara. I cannot hear you. Have you? Oh, you still? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're still muted.
Silly me. Okay, this is because I'm the first. You ask questions, so I'm a little bit nervous. Okay, hello everyone again. Because I write children books, and every time I have this kind of floor conversation, and people ask the same thing to me: what is the moral in your children's book? Ever since I was young, of course, I know the difference between this good versus bad. My parents, my mother always telling me the story, a lot of story. I read a lot of books, and I can identify who is the hero and who is the villain. And I start growing up, and I start to see hero in a different lens. I start questioning the hero, not questioning the hero as who represent the hero, but questioning the hero. Is he a hero? Is she a hero? Because I'm growing up. I am nurturing my skepticism, not my positivity, because I've been living with positivity a lot. So sometimes I get so fed up with all this positivity. I working for children and writing children books, and everybody come to me. What's the moral of the story? What's the positive things that you can teach us? So my skepticism start eating me out, and I do not. I sort of do not see things like in a positivity lens anymore. So I start questioning who's the hero. Like Mbak Inaya said, that's the first thing she heard that I talk about Malin Kundang as a hero. She never heard that Malin Kundang as a hero. Yes, maybe she's an anti-hero, but the way I see, the way I read text everywhere, I start to see the blur line between hero and anti-hero, between the goods and the bads, and especially my lens, my eyes looking through the heroism. Are they really perfect? Are they really good? Are they really uh, entity that we got inspired all the time? Then I start to think that actually good and bad is like a non-binary. It's not like there is someone that's really really good as a hero, and there's someone really really bad, and they are like two different poles that in everybody, you know. That I started to see that it's non-binary, with good and bad, evil and kindness. Then when this uh, when Ziggy contact me and said we are talking about heroes, the first thing I think, heroes is the same like anti-heroes. They are one and only with two faces. Okay, depends on you where you want to see. You want to see the anti-hero? There's a hero inside the anti-hero. You want to see the hero? There is an anti-hero inside there. That's why I said Malin Kundang and his mother are the heroes. They make us to think and to see the complicated relationship between son and mother. That's not that easy. We're talking about the parents and children. They're not like bad or good relationship. They're mix of bad and good. You cannot tell the difference. Even color is also a creation of so many things. You cannot see that this is perfect yellow. You cannot see this is perfect red. You cannot perfect whites or black. It's a creation of many color and lights. You know, if you see that's how to answer your question is like that. So hero or anti-hero are one and one and only one. It depends on how you see it. Of course, I'm not speaking like this to in my children books. My children book consists a hero and also anti-hero can see it. Yeah, but still people ask me what is the moral of the story, so they're looking for the real hero, the hero that is perfect, that is a very good in everything. They never make mistake. They never uh, they never doing bad. Hero is the hero is perfect. And then I the way I presented my essay, saying that well, we have to question again what is perfect, what is heroism. And that's how I answer your question. I hope it's quite clear.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma Clara, for the answer. And that just sounds like everyday life. People are not black and white, just bad and good. And we've got question here, and I would like to ask to Kak Tiffany. There's a question from the viewers. Since everyone reflects to their childhood when they talk about heroes, will you still introduce heroes to your children, and what kind of heroic figure, and how will you introduce it?
Yeah, I have so I guess like Ria, I have a 5-year-old and I also have a 3-year-old. And we talk a lot about that actually. Yeah, but I do feel like I've been trying to just more emphasize yeah, just everyday qualities, like being kind. We talk about that. For our family, we're a bit religious, so every night pray that um, that he will become kind. We pray that God helps us become kind and good, and to just yeah, help other people, and to be open to other people as well. So yeah, just things like that, I guess. So that's in line with, I guess, what I was talking about, like heroism, not necessarily thinking of heroism on a grand scale, but thinking about it on a smaller everyday scale, because I think that's what will um, change the communities and the societies we're a part of for the better.
Okay, thank you very much, Tiffany. And for the third question, I would like to ask Kak Oka. And Kak Oka, in today's social and political world, where we find out that where we put someone on pedestal as a heroes, so many of us, felt disappointed in the end because they turns out as a villainy as the others or as the previous one. Learn not to put someone in spotlight anymore and just stick to the cause together, creating collective movements. Do you see this as, I don't know, the trend that will make heroes extinct?
No, I actually see it as the opposite. I think collective movement and togetherness and solidarity is what is going to multiply people's conception of what is a hero and who is a hero, right? By millions. by by millions, because when we make it so that only a few survive, only the and this whole like very Darwinian like only the strong survive of like who a hero is, and a hero is being only the person who like has like a million followers on Twitter or Instagram, or has, like becomes the head of the political party. It's like, no, your hero. I mean, I think we can all think of like our grandparents who are heroes to, us, and people who other people may not know about. And I think what's really important also for us and for kids is um, acts of heroism, as Ria said, it's not always like the Wolverine who's going to go like slash through a truck, like, that's an act of heroism. In my essay I wrote about how like I didn't say this today, but in my essay I wrote about how resting for me is an act of heroism, because for instance, right, like I need a lot of rest in a day, like more than the average normative person, right? And sometimes it really sucks to think like, oh well, my way of life, like this is, I'm just resting, what am I doing? But actually when I think about it, because the colonial capitalist ableist world is constantly being like produce, 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 work, 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 do, resting is an act of heroism. And every day I think we can find little things like that in ourselves, right? Where we're like, you know what? Nobody else will understand that to me this is hard. If you're doing something that is in line with your morals and values and with your set of values, right? Not anybody else's set of values, but your set of values that you think is good. It may be that nobody else sees it, right? Nobody else may even find out about it, but you have to acknowledge that as an act of heroism for yourself. And so I don't think heroism is about the number of people who think you're a hero. I don't think it's about views or celebrity or fame or anything. I think it's about acknowledging that you or somebody else is doing something that is really hard to do. So, or challenging.
Okay. But you know, if the act of heroism itself can be done in everyday things, Kauka, does it even still matters to have heroes anymore? Like, do they still serve to the function?
Absolutely, because then we can start thinking of everybody in our community as heroes in our own way, right? Like, I don't think, again, it's not about like having a few heroes as being what heroism means. I think heroism is about courage, right? And integrity. And if we look at it through that lens, then honestly, like for instance, I think all of my friends are heroes. I really do. Because and there are things about them that other people may not know about, right? But think about a time in your life when you've been like, well, my friend is really brave. and nobody else knows that they are doing something that is very brave, but to me they are a hero, right? I want us to think about heroism in that way, as something that is communal and community heroism too, because honestly, like all the communities right now that are fighting companies that are trying to do deforestation and to take land for mining, you know, those communities are heroes. Heroes aren't just one. I mean, that's a very like enlightenment philosophy, like Western thinking of like the heroism is singular, right? And the individual is what counts. I think we need to start thinking of the collective as a hero and communities as heroes.
Right. Right. Thank you very much, Kak Oka. And this question is for Kak Ria. Before I ask the question, I would like to read you. There's a someone saying to Kak Ria. It's from Redika Yasar. Okay, too much R in the name. I couldn't pronounce it. Uh, we can eventually make use of such unthinkable medium to perform like this puppet theater. It is only with simple stuff, the great performance, and not messy at all. And I agree with him. It's really not messy at all. In fact, it is very great performance. And Taria, I want to ask you, because since you know you were taking that performance from your children, and also the other like Kak Tiffany and also Mbak Clara. Do you think there are different ways we portray children? We portray heroes in children's and with adults. How and why? And how do we portray heroes to children's, or and maybe there are different like distinctions in adults. What do you think uh, the differences, and what do you think we need to different that?
That's interesting question, because I found that it is very interesting, because my process of being a mother, it's really about, we try, a village try, a group of people try to raise a good human being. By that, we are kind of like, we learn a lot of whatever we say, of whatever, we do. They're copying us, right? And then we found that it's always coming back to the condition of what should I do? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it, those kind of situation? I learned a lot of whatever my son said in this kind of, we are trying to figure out and describe about many things, including this position of hero. And honestly, when I'm thinking about hero, all I have in my mind is definitely those people who's, like I've told you before, those people who live, just like Mbak Tiffany said, if you want to be hero, live. And that's actually what happened in my head. When I think about hero, I always think about those people who leave their comfort zone to help other people. And if we say that, oh yeah, those, heroism inside us, everyone have that situation. But those who give all of their life for others without thinking further about themselves, I think it's the most craziest people, like your father, Mbak Inaya. It's kind of like, right? Now you're just like, okay. Because I'm thinking that those kind of personality, not all of people in this world have that guts, have that willingness, have that huge, like calling of helping others in that kind of situation of, by all, I go. This is my life. I have to help them. And I think that's what differ people, regular people, I can say, with those who I can say a hero, or those who we can say a hero. Because hero give impacts to many people. He's not only doing for themselves. They're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for others. And I think until today, that's why I'm not saying about, those national hero that already written in the history books. I'm thinking about some people that I know I never met before, but they live in the same era with us right now. Or some people who raise other people that, saying that I would love to help others. And I think that's the value that we need to, pass to the next generation. Yeah, I think that's my, I hope that answered the question. But that's it, Mbak Inaya.
Wow, thank you very much. And yes, I do try to not to mention my father about
I
this.
do.
But,
I mentioned that because yes.
Okay, let's just moving on.
Move others.
I have a question for all my panelists. This is one question, and this is all for you. Since all my panelists today are women and female, how does the your identity as a woman makes you perceive the characters of hero? How does it differentiate if you're not a woman? And this goes to all the panelists. I invite anyone who wants to answer first to answer. Who would like to answer first? But Tiffany or Mbak Clara?
I can
Barokka?
start. Yeah. Just briefly, I think that for me, it makes me recognize more women as heroes than the public recognizes as heroes, right? And I think that there is still a skewing towards more men being, elevated as heroes and put on pedestals than women who maybe have achieved the same amount or are equally heroes. And I think it also makes me think of different ways of being heroes in ways that men may not perceive. Like, for instance, I don't know, I think we've all seen those films where it's actually the woman who, I don't know if you've heard this horrible phrase, like, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. I don't really I don't really like it, but in the sense that the woman is actually the dalang behind the scenes, who is actually making things happen, or or like whispering in the husband's ear or in the general's ear, right? And there's so many women throughout history that we don't know, but I'm sure that there have been women who have been orchestrating things and making the men think that it was their idea. So for me, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mocha. Who will answer next? Tiffany. Okay, please.
Yeah, just related to that. I think, just being aware of and just seeing the opening in the discourse recently about, unsung heroes and how women do so much labor, especially, and historically have done so much domestic labor and labor that isn't necessarily recognized or monetarily remunerated in their capacity. I think for me, it's just made me more aware of the heroes that do go unrecognized. Again, in line sort of with Oka's presentation, right, that when you think about how many people who have been heroes, who have walked this earth and who have done really good things, but have not been written about, were not noticed, were even, just killed, right? There's so many of those people as well. Or, people who just had to do it and just did it because it was the right thing to do without, expectation of being rewarded or recognized. So it's just made me more aware of that, I think, and thinking about, when I look in a history book and I think, okay, these are the heroes that are listed here. And I think, multiply that times 10, times 100, times 1,000, right? How many people should be in these history books that aren't, that we'll never know about.
Okay, thank you very much. Very well put, Tiffany. And who's going to answer next? Ria, okay, please.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I becomes just exactly what Kak Tiffany said. It becomes more sensitive of those who's not recognizable. You know, like we Papermoon just started to work. We made some workshop with transgender community before, and then we met lots of these amazing characters, amazing personal persons that kind of like really fight for the rights of the transgender communities, and those kind of they are not in a big radar, of course. They're in special radar in special spots, but then common people didn't aware about them. So I found that being a woman, it becomes for me, for myself, it made more sensitivity of appreciate what other people does. I think that's I didn't see any kind of like, okay, hero in that kind of perspective of, you have a medal, you will get those kind of like bling bling brush, bling bling outfits or whatever. But then it's not the way that we appreciate people sometimes, like yeah. But I think the sensitivity of women, it gives more, things to be lit up, I can say, like it will be shown.
Okay, thank you, Karia. And Clara, please to answer the question.
Yeah, in my younger self, I saw myself like were you guys, younger, younger. So I saw more women around me that creating good works for everyone. But nowadays, my first daughter is already in college. She is 18 years old. And one day I heard she's talking about me to her friends. And she said, I'm her hero. I mean, my perspective shift, from being myself as a woman and then recognize that a mother is also is a woman. Then I see what I did in the past with my kids. I send them to be a young woman right now. Then I start to realize how important mother is in society, how important mothers for nation, and how important mothers for communities, and mothers creating futures, all the mothers creating something in their hands, the generations. So this year is my year when I see my daughter when goes to college for the first time. I see my first daughter hit her millennium, hit her success, finish the high school. It feels me like I'm a hero for myself, and I start to see others also as a woman like you, mothers. I see you have young kids. You guys are women. I mean, you guys are mothers in making. Like 10 years later, you will see when you see your daughter speak something about you so beautifully about you as the mother. You feel you're gonna feel the different. You see the words in the different angles because I did it. And to to uh, to 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 finish off to close off my talking that as a woman, as a mother, I'm always grateful that we are the same panel woman here and we're talking about heroes too. This is really what is it, girl powers. And so happy to be with you all.
Thank you, Maklara. Maklara, not just because your role as a mother, but we could easily see why your daughter thinks you're a hero. I'm pretty sure everyone's agree. And we don't have much time left, but I need to wrap up this a session. I would like to ask you guys for having, I don't know, 2 sentences to wrap up this discussion today. Like, how do you guys want to? How do you ladies want to see about the heroism in probably in yourself or in society, or what is actually your hope from our today's talk. I would like to start from Kautsar.
Yeah, I think that in this age, especially of like socio-ecological crisis, there's an urgency to everything we do to support each other. And I really think the sense of loyalty to community and to each other and to helping each other survive and thrive and be happy and live good lives is uh is something that actually can be difficult to do, right? Because that's not always what the media tells us to do. But a sense of going against normative ideas of what heroism is so incredibly important. So I would just like to ask everybody watching to everyone, including myself, to examine ourselves and think about why do we believe what we believe about heroism and about heroes? Where does that come from? And to always be curious.
Thank you, Kautsar. Tiffany, can you please say your closing statements?
Oh my goodness, I'm so bad at closing statements. Agree with everything Oka said, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess yeah, everyone just go out there and change the world in small ways, and be kind to each other. I don't know, be nice. Sorry. Okay, I'll stop. I'm just completely sabotaging my own closing.
No, you're not. Don't worry. Thank you. You're emphasizing a very good point. Okay. Clara, could you please give your last words?
I think I already did it. I said girls power, so girls unite. Girls unite, mother unite. That's my last sentence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's very important. That's very important. Okay, Ria, please.
But Tiffany, that's definitely true. Be nice, it's very important for today. So definitely that's a really good closing statement. But if you guys you think that you need a special weapon to be a hero, so now your special weapon is your thumb. So be mindful of using your special power, of typing anything, of saying anything through social media. That is your special power. You can use it as a hero or as a villain. You choose.
Thank you very much, Karia. I think you wrap up very, very well. I mean, this is all the things that I've learned today from all these incredibly powerful women. We're talking about heroes is no longer needs to be in a normative, homogeneous ways. We can all be heroes. Heroes is something that needs to be done collectively, and more than other time, the time to be heroes are now, and much more important than being, strong and everything is to have integrity, support each other, empowers others, and of course, we all can always make good choices. Those hopefully those can bring us big inspiration after we wrap up the talk today. And of course, I would like to remind, thank you very much once again to all my very powerful and brilliant panelists, Kak Tiffany Tsao, and Kak Clara Ng, Kak Ria Papermoon, and of course, Kak Oka. You guys really, really inspired me so much today. And I'm very grateful to meet all of you today. And of course, I would like to say thank yous to all that have been working so hard, to the Jill crews, Gaya, Ziggy, Anka, Anis, and then also everybody's that watching. You guys rocks, and big applause for you all. And of course, all the sign language interpreter, You guys are very great. And I would like to remind you guys that we will still going to have more panels 2 days and tomorrow. Sorry, I mean tomorrow is not 2 days. So feel free to check out the websites, the social medias for more infos about that. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in other events. Thank you very much. I think back to the please stay because we're going to have the pictures, and of course, if the viewers wants to read all the panelists works and everything, you could always head to the bookstores. You could always get the writings there, the books there, and please don't forget to check the bookstores. And please stay and open your cameras because we're going to have pictures. Who's going to lead us to have the pictures?
Hello. I'm going to lead for the picture.